Hello, and welcome to the Teen Steak Podcast. This is a podcast where I, your host Luke, will give my thoughts and perspectives on different themes, topics, and issues around the world and in our teenage lives. Very glad to have you here. For this introductory episode, I decided to ask my Instagram followers for questions that they might have regarding me or this podcast. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first question is, what are your favorite books? My favorite books are actually, I think it really depends on the genre. For action, it's Alex Rider by Anthony Horowitz. For fantasy, it's The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer, The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien, and The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. In terms of investigation and crime, I really like Half Moon Investigations by Eowyn Colfer and Theodore Boone by John Grisham. In terms of business and life books, I really like The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, Me, Myself, and Bob by Phil Vischer, and Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull. I haven't read a lot of romance novels or books, but I really like The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, which I just read recently, and also We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I also have two favorite African literature pieces, The Hour of God by Chinua Achebe and Things Fall Apart, also by Chinua Achebe. Next question is, what are your favorite movies? I have a lot of favorite movies actually. I like the Marvel movies from 2008, Iron Man until around there may be Endgame or Spider-Man No Way Home. I like the Fast and Furious series only until Fast and Furious 9. I like Ip Man 1 and 2, very nice movie. The Sun Is Also a Star, movie based on the book. La La Land, The Last Christmas, and Baby's Day Out, which is one of the best comedies ever. In terms of animated movies, I enjoy watching mostly Disney movies, but I like How to Train Your Dragon, Moana, Mulan, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, The Prince of Egypt, Sinbad, Tarzan, Sing, Puss in Boots, Madagascar, Kung Fu Panda, Big Hero 6, and a lot of the Disney classics, especially in the 20th century. The next question is, how often will you release? I'm planning on releasing every Friday. How long will the episodes be? The episodes will be somewhere between half an hour and an hour, if not slightly more, depending on what's being talked about. Where do you hope this takes you? Everywhere, really. I'm hoping that whatever I say will be able to reach people in one way or another. What are some of your goals for this podcast? Basically to share or give information in hopes of it changing people's lives in one way or another, but mostly just giving information about stuff. And last but not least, what motivated you to start? There are a few things, actually. One, if you know me, you know I love talking, conversing, arguing to some extent. As mentioned earlier, I hope that this message will also be able to reach people, or at least inform them in one way or another. Lastly, I wanted it to be an exercise in boldness. I'm not the most confident person. Actually, I tend to be quite shy, and I feel like putting myself out there somehow is gonna help me with building confidence to do things in the future. And that was all the questions actually. There weren't many, but I think that was sufficient enough. I don't want this to be too long. If you have any more questions, feel free to follow on Teen Steak Podcast on Instagram and DM me. Also follow this YouTube channel and also follow us on Spotify. depending on where you're listening from. And do not worry, some of the plans I have for this podcast is to make it a video podcast eventually when I'm able to sort out setting and camera and all that. It will become a video podcast. That's the end goal. The end goal is for it to become a video and audio podcast. So if you're watching on YouTube, it's a video, and if you're watching on Spotify, obviously it's an audio. And yeah. So if you want any details on how the episodes will be structured as well, there will be a trailer for the YouTube channel and for the Spotify channel if you want to know more about how each episode will be structured. And yeah, that is it from me. I'm very grateful to anyone who's listening to this. We're here to make mistakes together, learn together, and, conquer the world. Thank you for listening.